Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Or if you're about to join in the afternoon or evening, whenever this is for you. We're going to get started on the hour for this yin practice today. And just if you're live, you have a few moments, you could grab yourself a block or 2 blocks if you tend to be a little tighter and feel like you might need some support. So yeah, a block or 2 blocks would work for today's practice. And just finding your way to getting settled with what you need. Yin's a slow and steady practice, slow and steady offering. So if you're still working on that smoothie, or if you have a cup of tea that you want to bring to your mat, getting yourself organized with that as well. And we'll get started on the hour. It'll be 9 a.m. Pacific and 12 p.m. Eastern time. And just as I walk off camera here, just letting you know that you can follow along on a playlist that I've curated for today. We've been without music for the week, but we're just going to have something sweet to carry us through this next hour of time. And if you're looking to get my playlists, you'll go to Spotify, and my handle name is my friend Simone, all one word. And on my friend Simone, you can pick today's date, which is Sunday, June 7th. Yin, Sunday, June 7th will be the playlist. And once we get started, I'll just say hit play and you can go along with that. And if you're following live right now, the alternative to Spotify is just to go to the Earbuds app. It's an app and it plays along live as I play the music. So when I launch the playlist, you'll be in time with me by the second, by the moment. And so, just a little bit of information if you're newer to yin practice. Um, the mythology, I guess, of it all is that uh, you take these shapes and you find a point of sensation where you're just about to encounter, oh, that's a stretch, that's a little something in the body. And so, as you find those points of sensation in the shape, you want to settle into them with the ability to breathe and to breathe smoothly and softly. So if you find that your breath is being impacted by a shape, And this is always the case in any of your practices. That's your cue to adjust or come out of the depth of that shape. Um, but if you can manage a full inhale and a full exhale, and it's okay to be challenged by the sensation of the shape, um, you want to just explore and be curious and kind of settle into it and see what transpires. I always refer to yin as a kind of conversation within the body where we're we're choosing to be a little more listener like than talk like, so we let the shape and the breath find their way into expressing themselves, and we follow along for what's on offer in terms of evolving not only what our body is possible to do in that moment, but also how we receive it and how it impacts us emotionally and mentally. So just this last minute, getting what you need together, water, blocks, whatever it may be. Okay. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started on this yin practice today. And if you are following along on the playlist, just taking that play button on your earbuds, and you can go play right now to follow along. And first, just going to have the simplicity of water washing over us. And I'm going to invite you to get into Shavasana for that wash. And when you're taking your Shavasana shape, just separating the legs wide, letting the weight of the big toes fall more open towards the sides of your mat. Feeling your belly relax. So there's that offering to be a little Buddha like, a little messy in the belly, and letting that messiness kind of echo into the thighs and into the bum, into the softness of those places, and then also into the fingertips. And from the fingertips into the expression of that face, that everyday face we wear into our world, where we hold smiles at times that we're not really feeling like holding, where we might tense up if we feel something that makes for a pang in our heart. So just being aware of the choice to either soften through the eyes or close the eyes, and to really soften the space of the jaw, the upper and lower jaw, finding an ease, a restful expression. Last little bit in our Shavasana, I'm just going to invite you to take a big inhale through the nose, feel your belly and your heart rise, and get to the top and hold your inhale. Hold, hold. Out the nose, drop through the belly and then the heart as you exhale, and get to the very bottom of that exhale and hold your empty belly and chest. Hold. And then inhale again to rise the belly and then the chest, and feel a big amount of expansion, and hold as you get to the top for 3, 2, and then out the nose with a soft jaw as you exhale slow. One more as you get to the bottom of this exhale, empty, and hold on empty. Hold. And then inhale once more. And when you get to the top, I want you to take a little extra sip of inhale. And then exhale out the mouth. And drop down into the beauty of that exhale and release. And then a soft and kind of natural inhale through the nose. And then a soft and natural exhale through the nose. Bring your right knee up towards your chest. Keep your left leg kind of soft. Just feel your right knee up here above your chest and belly. And just notice, without your hands being involved, what you feel. And then without pulling, really important, interlock the hands at the middle of the right shin and just let the weight of the hands be a suggestion into the stretch, the initial stretch. So you're not pulling, you're just interlocked hands and you're resting the weight of the hands here. Deep breath in and out. And so a lot of the time, what we're playing for when we're playing in yin is a little less do, an expression of letting things be rather than making things so. And so if you can just notice your tendency, which is a lot human and a lot human in our world these days, to do a little more than what I'm asking and back off from that. One more breath in and out. Remember, you're not pressing, pulling, you're just letting the weight of the hands be. Take a deep breath in if you're with our playlist, into the waves, into the water moving up, and a slow breath out through the nose. And then before we let go, just take one inhale and press and pull in a bit and notice the difference between effort and ease. Breath out. Out of the effort, lengthen your right leg long. Rest your arms alongside your body. And then hang out here for a beat. You should notice that your right foot and leg is a little longer than what is expressed in your left foot and leg. And you weren't even doing that much, right? But you were just showing up to the shape. And take your left knee up over your chest and your belly, but get your hands out of this. And just feel for the mobility of the hip in action, the knee kind of hovering over your chest and belly. With our playlist, the sing song of the birds, and feel and watch your body be. Keep it soft in the right leg as well. Keep it soft in the glutes. And on your next breath in, interlock opposite grip at the middle of the shin, but resist the urge to pull press. Just let the weight of the hands hang out. Settle into the simplicity, guys, the simplicity of not needing to do anything more than just the gesture of interlocked hands at the middle of the left shin. And so we're just listening, we're watching, we're feeling. We don't need to shove our way through. We don't need to push or exert our thoughts beyond. A little bit like what it's been for the last week or so, with a lot of our communities being in listening mode. Listening for knowledge, listening for information, listening for emotion, listening for insight. That part of the conversation being so much more. And then just noticing our natural tendency from time to time to muscle through, to do through. And check that out and let go through a simple breath in and out through the nose. And then for this last breath here, as you inhale, press and pull down a bit. And as you exhale out the nose, hold the press and pull. You've activated a little more yang just for you to feel the difference. And then out of that yang, let the left leg go long. Let the arms rest down by the side. Let it be. Take your right hand to your belly. Take your left hand to your heart. Simple gesture of breathing in to belly rising first, then heart. Simple gesture of exhaling for right hand to fall first, then left hand. Take your time to get up to a sit. Use your hands, your elbows, whatever feels like a natural way up. And as you sit, you can sit at the top of the mat. You're going to cross your left calf in front of your right shin. And you might get what's handy in the way of props to just help you out. Sometimes the props might mean both of them are around. Sometimes you'll just need maybe the one. And then use your sit bones down as you kind of pull your fleshy parts out. Ground in your sit bones in the way that you would ground to feet on the mat as you stand tall. Use your sit bones to kind of hug your belly in. Find a tall spine here. Deep breath in and out. Stretch your arms high for breath in. And then from here, turn your heart towards the left knee a bit. Feel a little twist. Yeah. Take it back to center with your arms high. Breathe in. And then turn your heart towards your right knee, the center of your chest body. Stay in this counter twist and then fold over. And ground your left sit bone because he's going to want to come up more than the right. And reach over here and feel any amount of sensation. Remember, that's that initial stretch that we're inviting in. Notice if you can take a full breath in and out through the nose while still being in that stretch. And then maybe stand your block up underneath where your forehead might make contact. Some people might be able to rest a little bit of their heart and forehead towards the right knee. Some people might need to pile two blocks on top of one another to get their forehead closer to the block. And letting the floor come to you in your shapes, whether in yin or vinyasa, creating support so that you can come into the whole gesture and offering of the pose. Notice if there's a little fly high through the left sit bone, a little lifting off through the left hip, and ground that down a little more. And make nothing about you or nothing about this wrong. Don't do that. You're just exploring what is. You're not focusing on what isn't. We always lead in our practice from a glass, half full rather than half empty. You're going to feel quite a bit of space through your left side. Try and pull in the breath whole. Weave it in between each rib into the backs of the lungs. Take another big breath in. And another big breath out. I like to press palms down on the ground, probably framing the block. Choose a little more of a roll-up style. Don't whip right up, but feel for the spaces in between as you get up. Take a seat, maybe rest your hands on your knees, full breath in and out. Just feel. And you can take your block with you to center or already to the far left. I want you to tense your fingers behind, lean back, and switch out the legs. Right calf now in front of the left shin. Stretch your arms high, full breath in. Keep them up even as you slide the shoulders away from the ears and turn the center of your chest towards the point of your right knee. So just feeling any something on that side. Ground in the sit bones, lengthen the spine. Try not to hunch. Come back to center. Breathe in. And then turn the center of your heart towards the left knee. So it's a counter, but it might not be even in the way that you experienced the other side. Breathe in. And then fold over, grounding your right sit bone. Feel for the space of I can ground my right sit bone, I can ground my right hip. and I can find a little reaching and opening through the right side. And then finding your method of support to rest your head. And sometimes we get a little busy in the head. Am I doing this right? Is this the right way? If you're feeling a kind of large target area through the right side and in towards that right hip grounding, if you're feeling sensation and stretch and open spaces that you can breathe in and out and through, then that's plenty. Might be the case that you soften in the arms, you create maybe less reaching through the fingertips. Still feel for grounding through that right seat and through that kind of right hip. And then find the quality of rest right into your forehead, head heavy, right into your hands and heart heavy. Take a full breath in and perhaps an audible exhale. Feel grounding through the palms down that frame, maybe your block or your head. And then let that help you roll out of it. Roll out of it and turn out of it to center. Pause. Respect the spaces that need to find their way back to neutral. Deep breath in and out. I like to rest my hands to the knees, to the thighs. You might put palms up. It's a certain different kind of offering for give and receive. The idea being, what can you let go of? What can you receive? Out of a breath in and out. We're going to tent the fingers behind. We're going to kind of lean back and lift the legs and go long through the legs and go wide through the heels. So you can do this still from the top of your mat if you have room. I'm doing this to face you and be a little more engaged with what you might need in the way of seeing how I do this pose. I again like to get the fleshy out of it. Ground, feel the quality of sit bones grounding to the mat. You might notice that flexing the feet here offers a different kind of thing. You might want to start off with a softening in the feet. I'm going to say that the one that allows you to be engaged with the whole of this stretch is the way to go. You start to walk your hands forward. Make this slow. So much like a wide-legged fold on your feet, there's this idea of doing the same but flipping it. And then you can see that I've put my block underneath my forehead. Some people have a lot of flexibility where they can bring their heart flat to the floor. There isn't necessarily a win. One isn't better than the other, except for the one that starts to mess with your breath, that starts to mess with your ability to be in the shape with grace. And so you're choosing the one that makes you feel more whole, even if it is with its challenges, with its kind of growth. You'll feel a pretty large target area all the way up the inner leg into the groin, that kind of stretch. And again, you'll notice that doing things with your feet and expressing your toes differently or flexing your feet will add on. So, my only invitation to you is that you don't move to keep yourself busy, but when and if you choose to move your feet or change an expression in the body, it's about deliberately going deeper, about deliberately settling in. And wherever your head rests, whether on a block or stacking of two blocks, it may be the case that there might be an expression of going deeper where the blocks go lower, or you find that you need more support, even as you try to shift into depth. Travel through 5 more breaths. I'm deliberate about using the word travel when it relates to how we meet our breath, because it's not something we're trying to get past and through to get somewhere else, but it's something we're trying to savor and be with. And so just understanding that they're all just micro steps within micro steps, and they're all journey, not destination, value. And before we start to even imagine being out of this pose, just really taking a whole inhale across and up and down the back body. And maybe an audible exhale. Maybe the case that you start to lift your head first, and then you start to use your hands to press the ground away and kind of find a shift of rolling up and sitting tall. Try not to do anything too quickly, right? Just knowing that there's this little bit of imprint in the pose, even after we've come out. And maybe it's one hand stepping back and the other hand helping the leg bend and sliding the heel or the leg into center. And then the other hand and helping the other leg bend and kind of sliding, right? And these gestures of moving in and out slow into the poses, right? You're not all old and crickety. No, that's not it. It's just about having the patience to kind of move through those micro steps and really savoring even that in your body. So understanding that we're respecting our space. When you're ready, you're going to take it to a tabletop, facing what you've deemed to be the front of your mat. And as you come onto a tabletop, the ask is the wrists underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath your hips. And then it's a kind of wag your tail tabletop. So leading from the hips and the bum, wag your tail, just like you know your favorite doggy to do so. Wag your tail. Wag through the reach of the sit bones, the peak of the hips. Wag your tail. And then start to get your shoulders and your trunk, torso, body in the mix. Almost like you're a little cat cowing, but with a little less definitive spaces to hit. And call this my modern dance tabletop, the yogi of modern dancing. How can you be as expressive as some of those modern dance pieces have been that you've checked out? About 2 more breaths in and out through the nose. Curl your toes under. Pick up your right knee so that the right sole of the foot faces the sky. And there's a bend in your right leg. Breathe in here. And as you round your spine and draw your knee in, step your right foot to the outside of the right hand. And you can help your foot forward. And you can also feel whether this is enough of a stretch for you. And if you want a little more, you might walk or slide your left knee further back so that your left leg appears more long. Now, it's entirely possible that you might need the support of your block. And that might mean putting the block on a lower height, a higher height, so that you're bringing the floor closer to you as you rest into this. I'm going to work with flat hands to the inside of that right foot. Instead of rolling to the outside of the right foot, just make sure that the mound of the right foot is down flat to the floor. And whether you have this soundtrack today, this playlist, or whether your playlist is the very focus of one breath in and one breath out, just finding the rhythm and the concentration of that space, right? So the rhythm can be with your breath alongside this guitar that's kind of strumming away, or the rhythm will be with that breath, that metronome of you in and out through the nose. We're going to hold this shape for yet another minute. 2 things that can help out. You might curl the back toes under to prevent any pinch in the left knee. And you might drop your head So much so that she is like a bowling ball, and you get into the upper back through the pull and opening of the neck body, and you get in across the shoulders. Be in the next two breaths, that kind of travel, savoring it in and out through the nose. And if your head is hanging heavy and you've taken that option, you're slowly lifting out of that. Often finding a little bit of heat in between the shoulder blades up near the neck. And then you're going to shift your hips back any amount. And you're going to kind of slide or heel toe or toe heel back, your foot back. And I want you to step into, right down tabletop. Put your shoelaces to the mat, breathe in. Send your bum back towards your heels into a kind of gesture of child's pose. Come out of that child's pose, back into tabletop, full breath in. Curl your toes under here, tabletop, breath out. Lift your left knee with a bend in your left leg, so the left sole of the foot faces the sky. Breathe in here. And as you round your spine, there's a bit of space to step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Again, you might walk your right knee further back or slide your right knee further back, creating more length in the right leg if you want more bang for your buck in the hips opening. It could be the case that this is plenty for one. And so finding that place, that sensation that lets you respect the whole expression of an inhale and exhale. Finding support of block to the hands if you need it. So that would bring the floor to you as you prop a block underneath your hands. Or you're staying put. And much like how we started this practice, right? When we brought that knee up to our chest and I asked you to interlock your hands at the right shin or left shin, right? And a lot of that time when we're doing that shape of wind relieving, we're always right away into a muscle through. So just taking a moment here to look at the tendency of looking for more to do. And then can you just settle into the simplicity of this shape? The simplicity of this low lunge. And what I love to do with especially yin, because I have all this space and time where I'm not constantly shifting from one shape to the next, is I imagine that these pockets of my body also house my lungs. So we know where our lungs are in our body, but what if they were in your bum cheeks? And how could you find a sense of breath into the spaces that might be really confronted by this shape? How could you find a sense of breath into the mound of the left foot? For the last minute of time, it might be the case that you let your head go heavy. Commit to 2 more breaths as you are, without switching, shifting, changing a thing. And then maybe your shape stays the same, but for the lift of your head, slow and steady. Feeling that sensation up across your upper back body and into your neck body. Neutralizing your chin with your gaze straight ahead. Curling your back toes under as you shift your hips back with a press in the hands. And whether you kind of slide the left foot back or help it walk back, heel toe, toe heel, step slow and steady into your left knee down, tabletop. Take a moment to put your shoelaces to the ground. Breathe in tabletop. And come into a child's pose. In child's pose, pick up the heels of the hands right off the ground, pick up the elbows off the ground, and go right into the tips of the fingers like your hands are spiders. Feel a stretch as you spin your elbows slightly in, breathe in. Hold that, breathe out. Keep your spider hands, come forward into a tabletop, breathe in. And then put your heels of the hands down slow to tabletop, breathe out. Curl your toes under, make your way to a downward face dog. Because this is yin, you can have pretty deep bend in the legs. You can have a pretty soft expression of down dog. We're going to start with our left knee into pigeon. But first, kick your left leg up. And when it gets up, bend the leg just like you did in the tabletop with the sole of the foot facing the sky. And then lift through the knee to squeeze the glute a bit. Breathe in. And then bring the left knee to the outside of the left hand, outside of the left wrist. Now, normally you'd walk your right leg further back and you'd kind of try and pin and inner rotate your right hip down. That's pigeon. But I'm going to invite you to do a little less of walking that right knee back. So walk it forward Open the knee towards the right side of your mat, so your inner right thigh is down. And then fold over your left knee any amount. You can rest to your forearms. You can shape your block underneath your chest and hang heavy. You can put your forehead and heart to the mat. Some people even like their forehead to the mat or to a block. And so we've taken our pigeon-like expression into a more swan-like expression. And then we just fold over our legs. And then really important gesture is to really soften what you're doing in the arms. So try not so much to reach, but to actually bend and rest the state of the elbows onto the mat, rest the heaviness of the arms to the mat. And just like all shapes that kind of encounter the possibility of a little more, or they evolve, or a little more depth, it may be the case that you're able to just lie your forehead to the mat, lie your heart to the mat. Maybe after a few breaths, maybe after 10. Take a whole breath in before you shift. Let that go, breath out. Frame and press your palms down on the ground. And so, what I mean by frame, you frame kind of your head, your ears, and you roll out of this. And you might extend your right leg long, turn your right hip in, kind of that pigeon state. Curl your back toes under and take it to downward face dog. And we're going to make our way to the other side, but not before we kick up the right leg. And there's a bend in the right leg, so you're facing the right sole of the foot to the sky. And then you're not really lifting the right foot, but you're actually lifting the right knee. And then you squeeze that right glute and you get more bang for your buck in the left hamstring. Deep breath in. And then you bring that right knee to the outside of the right hand wrist. And again, normally there's this walk of the left knee back. But instead, you'll walk that left knee forward, turn to the inside of the left thigh so that the left knee can kind of point to the left side of the mat. And then fold into a comfortable spot here. And what I mean by comfortable is, yeah, you're going to feel sensation. You're going to feel a stretch. That's you creating a little more space in your body. But remember the gesture of being at ease to inhale and exhale out. And then once again, that kind of play, that play of game, to imagine that your lungs aren't just resting in one spot of your body. They're in every pocket of space that's being challenged, that's being shifted, that's still holding on to tightness. They're in anywhere you need to be. They're anywhere you need to have a breath in and a breath out. Take a big breath in once more. Take an audible exhale. Slow about this. Hands pressed to frame your head. Roll up slow. Slide the left leg back. Do that, guys, slow. Turn your left hip in to curl your left toes under. Blocks out of the way. Step into downward face dog. Slow and steady. Take one more breath in through the nose and out through the nose. I'm going to walk your feet and hands to the middle of the mat in a forward fold. And then I want you to step your feet a little wider so that you feel supported in your forward fold. And then you can sway forward in your forward fold, and your legs can be bent for this. You can sway back and forward and back. Your legs are bent to permit more space in your lower back and in your hips. But it's not the kind of bend that has you working the muscles of your quads per se. So just distinguishing and feeling for that. And then press your hands to shins and walk your hands up past your knees and walk up, right? So you're rounding up into a stand. And then come back into it again. Same way. So just felt a little sweet mobility through the back. Take your block if you think you need to bring the floor closer to you. I'm going to let you decide what that means. It might just mean more stability or somewhere to rest the heaviness of the hands. Try and drape your belly and your heart right over the character of these legs long so that there's a sit bones up to the sky, weight into the flats of the feet, and drape of the heart, and then drape of the head. So in the drape of the head, some folks really notice that they like the support of the block underneath their hands. Whatever works for you, we're holding the shape, not our breath. 5 more inhales and exhales. Take one big more. In breath, in breath. Put your lungs in all those pockets of space of the body where they really aren't, but they need you. Heavy the heart, heavy the head, heavy the jaw. Exhale out. Whether you're using the block or not, put it kind of in front of your feet, in between your feet, and prop a little bit of your heart up by pressing your hands into your support system. So there's a little halfway lift. Toe heel. One step wider. Then toe out, heels in, stay put. Bend your legs. Start to sit your bum down in Malasana squat. Get in to those nooks and crannies. Full breath in and out. When you're ready, tense your fingertips behind. Put your bum down. Extend one leg at a time. And lie down in your final Shavasana. What do you notice about the quiet of your body resting to this shape? Make none of it wrong. Anchor in this kind of grounding of your back body to the mat, but mostly that the mat has you. That there is a system of support here. That this practice is a system of supporting some of our toughest times and days. And it's not that we're without the work moving forward. It's not that we kumbaya our any one thing, but we need to restore in a place of ease, not chaos. We need to restore in a place of dignity and grace of breath. We don't restore in anger per se. We certainly don't restore in shame and beating ourselves up. So when you take to your back body on your mat, that is the system of support that I'm speaking of. You can kind of lose track of the deliberate inhales and exhales. Just let yourself go in almost to the sleep state of your Shavasana. And so, even as our practice comes to a conclusion of sorts, where I offer you that word, that exchange, that greeting, that sign off, it may be the case, and it really can be the case, that you encounter a longer Shavasana beyond how we're together here today. And so, when I'm wanting to increase my journey, my ability of resting in Shavasana, I always try and practice those extra 10 breaths beyond the point of what I know my Shavasana to be. A practice into something deeper, because you just don't come by it without showing up to it. So, whether practicing over the next week of time or till we meet again, or whether with another teacher, just knowing that this is a place of restore and support. And it may be the case that you need to more deliberately come to this before you encounter our world. Lots of love. Sweet dreams. Namaste.